Hi, everybody, and welcome to 3 Seconds Ahead, where I, Andrew Johnson, get the opportunity to have amazing conversations with ordinary people that have got extraordinary stories, and we can all learn from one another and the lessons that we've picked up over time. It gives me an opportunity to learn from our guests, to remind themselves of the lessons they've learned, and you, the audience, the opportunity to learn from both of us. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Charlie Moyo, who I know through Joburg Places and the Thunder Walker. He's Gerald Garner's partner in the business, and I think it would be fair to say that he is an internationally acclaimed inner city tour guide, because I've seen him in action, and he's really good at what he does, and he brings things alive, particularly the Joburg inner city tours. As I said, he's a partner to Gerald Garner, and they are working very hard to maintain the thriving, amazing little business that they've got there, the Thunder Walker plus the walking tours. And you can, if you're excited about it, and I can highly recommend it, so you can join them for a virtual tour, which they host in the evenings. Just go to their website, which I'll put onto the information below, and go in and have fun, because it's really fun, particularly when they've got international guests and you can converse with them. Anyway, Charlie, the one thing that I do know is that you're originally from Zimbabwe. Is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
I just wanted to confirm that. So he's a very welcome guest and member of South Africa. Well, I certainly welcome him here, because he's just done so much good for us in the inner city. So, Charlie, I always ask this question in the beginning because I'm curious at people's lives. And where does your story begin? And it can begin anywhere, wherever you feel comfortable.
I was born in 1981, and born in Zim, obviously, but my dad was born in Botswana. And he left Botswana as a young kid. My grandfather, my dad was born into a royal family in Botswana, and my grandfather had about 7 wives. And when he passed, that became a problem for my father's side, because they were about 7 boys in the family, and through a tussle to control the royalty. Then it became a problem for them. They had to leave Botswana. There were about 3 boys. Yeah, the eldest was just about beginning his teenage years. And he decided his young brothers were not safe. And so he took them out of Botswana immediately. And they headed for Zim. And that is where my father grew up. Really, basically, he lived a very, very poor life. But he managed to, work hard as a man when he grew up. And he found a job, and he found this beautiful young lady in Zim, who later became my mother. Very intelligent woman indeed. He was a better storyteller than I am. She was rather a better storyteller than I am. Everything that I am, I learned from her. A typical Thunder Walker indeed. So yeah, my mother was one of those mothers at the time that, she basically had, she was the pillar of our family. And when they got married, they both made a decision, and she decided she was going to stay home and grow the family while my father was out, working for the family. So yeah, all our schoolwork, we used to go to my mother. She was our teacher at home. She was a mother. She was the CEO of the family, basically.
Yeah.
So we learned everything from her. She was a powerful woman. So anyway, yeah, I am a citizen of both. 3 countries. I'm a citizen of Botswana, Zimbabwe, and of course South Africa.
Yeah.
I came to this city years ago, over 10 years now. Yeah. And I've been living in Joburg, and my background is hospitality.
Yes.
I've worked in restaurants before, and I actually owned one restaurant with my brother at some point.
Yes.
Until I was introduced to Gerald Garner.
Mm-hmm.
One of my friends thought, you know what, I like telling stories and I like asking questions about Joburg. And this man was working for Gerald.
Okay.
And he decided to introduce me to Gerald. And he said, you know what, this is one person you need to meet. He loves Joburg like you do. And maybe you guys should meet and maybe something can come off that. So when I met Gerald, he was looking for somebody to run his restaurant. And I immediately volunteered. I said, no, I would love to work with you. And in return, you teach me a lot more about what you know about Joburg.
Mm-hmm.
And so we embarked on this journey. While I was, managing his restaurant, he was taking care of tours until one day, out of the blue, a couple walked in and they said, we're here for a walking tour in Joburg. We booked a tour in Joburg Places. At that time, Gerald was already on a tour. And so I was confused. And so I called Gerald and said, Gerald, there's a couple here and they say they booked a tour with you and you're already on a tour. And he said, yeah, they're right. They booked a tour with me, but there's supposed to be a guide to take them on a walking tour. I hadn't done any storytelling or walking tours before. So I said to him, I'm sorry, but this guy did not pitch whoever you booked. And so Gerald said to me, but then why are you telling me? What do you want me to do about it? I can't now drop this tour and come and start another tour. And I said, well, that's fine. I will send this couple back home. I will definitely refund them and send them their way. And he said to me, no, you will not do that. These people paid for a Joburg Places tour. They paid for a Joburg Places experience. You are not going to send them back home. You are going to have to give them an experience of Joburg Places.
Wow.
I said, but I've never done a tour before. I've never walked anybody later on in the international guests in the inner city. And he said, well, you said you want a chance. This is your chance.
Wow.
And he said, take them on a walking tour. If you don't do it, don't be there when I come back. So I was really sweating and shaking, terrified. And I took this poor couple on a walking tour for the first time in my life, a tour that was supposed to last about 3 hours. 4 hours. But it only lasted 1 hour. I remember very well the husband was very much disappointed because he expected so much he heard about us. And he was originally a South African, now living overseas in Europe. Yes. And he brought his wife, a European wife, to show her the Joburg that he knows. And there I was telling them this short story of Joburg. You can imagine the disappointment.
Yes.
And so I said to them, listen, this is all I know. I really am sorry. This is all I know about Joburg. How about we go back and I give you a gin and tonic on the house and let's chat more about Joburg.
Yes.
But then we went back and, well, we were having some gin and tonics and we started chatting more about Joburg and about what he also knew about Johannesburg as well and what he remembers most. Everyone has this story about Joburg, what they remember. And he had that as well. And I mean, in that little short time, I learned a lot from this man as well about the stories of Johannesburg as he remembers it. It was in that very day that I decided this is exactly what I want to do. This is what I want. I want to give people that experience, and I have to learn as much as I can about Joburg. So that is how I started my journey in touring Joburg.
It's amazing. I mean, I think I could have a conversation with you for the whole day. I mean, it's just a story about the royal family in Botswana moving across to Zimbabwe.
Oh, yes. That is another book, you can write an entire book of that story in Botswana alone,
Yeah, and then your brother making a decision that you've got to move, your dad's brother, and then being brought up by your mom. And it sounded like it was a hard life, but it was a happy one. And you speak so fondly of your mother.
Well, I have to be honest with you. I come from a family of 10, from one mother, one father. And my parents really shielded us into, we never thought we were poor. We lived a very fair life, We got the education and we never had to go to bed with empty stomachs.
Yes.
You know, they made sure that we ate something, and they gave us a very good education. So
Yes.
that is what they strive for. They shielded us at all costs from any negative, thinking.
Wow. That's amazing.
So I grew up in a very, it goes to show that, you don't need all these material stuff, to feel, the love of the family. You just need to be, you just need unity in the family, and
Yes.
everything else is just material,
And also the thing is unity in yourself. It sounds to me that your parents and your siblings created environments where it was very easy for you to believe in yourself.
Of course, yes, definitely, without a doubt.
And that self-belief has given you the ability to go on this adventure. I mean, you came to Joburg 10 years ago, started a restaurant with your brother. I would imagine that when you arrived in Johannesburg, you didn't have a lot and you had to use your wits to get things going. So just tell me about the early days in Joburg.
Well, I mean, when I arrived in Joburg, my brother was already here, and he was already, working in Joburg, also working in the restaurant. And I have to be honest with you, I'm very lucky to have such a family, because for some people, when they arrive in Joburg, they have no one at all, and they start in the streets. But I mean, I had shelter, I had everything I needed at my disposal. So my life in Joburg was semi-comfortable. So it was never a hard life at all. I'll be lying.
Yes.
Because I grew up in a family where we were taught to share within each other. We were taught, what you have is for the family, share with the rest.
Yes.
So it's easy for, when I have something, I just think about, call my brother, do you need any money? Are you okay tonight?
Yes.
Things like that. So that's how I was brought up, and I don't know any other way. So my early days of Joburg really we're comfortable, really. I don't want to lie.
Wow.
So,
So, I mean, it's
and also,
go ahead, please carry on. No, you carry on.
And also, I mean, the beauty of Joburg is, Gerald and I often tell people that it is a city of migrants. You start working around and you start going around places, and then you start basically forming relationships. And those relationships, they will help you in the long run as well. These are people that are coming from outside of Joburg, from other countries, so they understand as well what it is, to be a migrant in a city like Johannesburg. And so these people often keep in contact and communicate and help each other.
I mean,
so that's it.
What sounds so fantastic is that your philosophy that you learned from your mother and father and your family is to basically be of service to one another. And as you said, it's the only way that you know. Seems like it sort of spilled out into the Joburg migrant community. And when you connect with somebody, it's almost like they become part of your family, and you want to help them. And then they help you. And then this migrant connection, it's actually not about migrants from a sort. It sounds like it's actually the inner city is one big family of people looking after one another and trying to make it a better place.
That is exactly it, without a doubt. I mean, I tell you, every time I walk in the city, every time I just take a walk, and the love that I get from the people that know me is just, it's enormous. You can't buy that. I go into the Ethiopian quarter, and the Ethiopians, they welcome me with open arms, and they want me to taste everything and touch everything. They want me to be part of their own culture. Like, I should be able to speak Ethiopian by now. Because of the love that I get from the Ethiopians. And it's all the migrants, it's all the communities around the city.
And
that's what makes the city.
And is that why you love the city?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I mean, because I can relate, I can definitely relate. I don't feel like an outsider, because first of all, it is a city of outsiders, you know, so we have that, we have the similarities, you know,
Yes.
we can relate to one another.
Yeah,
So,
that's,
yeah,
that's the common denominator, is that because you're all outsiders, you all belong. That's amazing.
Of course. Definitely, of course.
That's so cool,
So,
man.
yeah.
And then, I mean, so Charlie, you live in the inner city. I know it's in the old Barclays Bank building, where
Yes.
where Gerald used to live. I must say that I know there's a pool on the top of that building, which I've swum in. I went on an adventure where I wanted to swim every day for 365 days, and my 100th swim, I got hold of Gerald and I asked him, where can I have a swim in a city? I'm really keen. And he said, I've got a pool. So I took the rear bus with my brothers, with my sons and my friend. It was a Friday. I said to my sons, you're going to have the best education of your life. You're bunking school. We're going on the rear bus. And we went into town and we walked through town and we went to, what's that really great coffee place in Joburg called? Kramer's Coffee. Oh, we had a Kramer's coffee afterwards. And my sons were young and they never experienced the city like that before. So, what's it like living in Johannesburg, actually making Joburg your home?
Yeah, I mean, it's Joburg can become a city of dreams. You know, it's easy to make it that. It can become that perfect city. You know, it just, politics aside, Joburg can become the best city in the world. And from where I live, I without a doubt, I live the best life. I live the life of convenience because everything is at my disposal. The life that I live from the position that I'm in, a lot of people would love to live this life because it's so peaceful. It's so, because of where my apartment is, it's so central. Everything that you need is just around you, which is what the city should be about, like you said, Kramer's Coffee. I can just walk to Kramer's Coffee within like a minute.
Yeah.
Less than a minute. And I have the best coffee in town.
Yeah.
And also, I can walk to some of the best restaurants. I mean, Maboneng is just about 10 minutes walk from here. If I want to experience, all the craft stuff and all authentic artworks and so forth, I just walk there,
Yes.
So, I mean, I was talking to Gerald about it today, and we're talking about how, the city should be, how the city is supposed to be. And in a way, I'm already living that city that it's supposed to be. I don't need a motor car. I work in the city and I just literally walk to work. So because I get to walk to work, that means I save a lot of money. Can you imagine how much money I'll be spending every day? And that money, it's just disposable income for me.
Yes.
That is money I get to enjoy to go and see other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's a real. It's what's profound for me, and I'm very fortunate, and I said this to Gerald when I spoke to him at the beginning of the week, is that when I did the walking tour with him a couple of years ago, I seem to remember that you came along almost as a training, and I confirmed with Tracy, my wife, and she said yes, Charlie was definitely there. But that experience was so profound for me; it completely changed my perspective of the Joburg inner city. From one that you had to avoid, and you couldn't go there, and it was unsafe, and there was nothing to do, and the people inside were aggressive that lived there. And just that 4 hours that I spent with Gerald and you just completely flipped that on its head. And as a result, we've got to know you guys better. And we've been to the city more often. And it's really got this amazing vibe about it. And that city lifestyle that everybody associates with London and New York and all the big cities around the world, a lot of people in South Africa and the greater Joburg don't see that because they're too afraid to go in there. Because it's such an easy lifestyle.
It is an easy lifestyle, and it can be it can be created into that, city of dreams.
Mm.
If only politically our leaders could see it that way.
Yes. Yeah.
I just want to point out, by the way, that when I started with Gerald, I used to live in Lindest, by the way.
Really?
That's where I lived. I had a townhouse in Lindest. And for me, also Joburg was a place where you just, if I had to come to Joburg to visit my friends, it would be in the afternoon,
Yes.
then disappear as quickly as I can.
Yes. Yes.
I also had that feeling of, oh, I shouldn't be here, But then, because I didn't know better,
yes.
yes. I did not see anything interesting at all. All I saw was this concrete jungle, So there was nothing really interesting in Joburg.
So you're
then once you start to get to know,
yeah.
once you start to get to know your city better, then you'll find all these interesting hidden gems.
That's fantastic.
So that's what sold me to Joburg.
Yeah, Gerald. I mean, Charlie, the experience where you were forced to do, and you really discovered your calling, which was to be a storyteller. And you mentioned that your mother was an amazing storyteller earlier, so it's part of your DNA. I mean, that really changed you, and now you are sort of driving force behind Joburg Places, telling the stories. I mean, you were really, in some ways, forced to face your biggest fear, which was, wow, I've got to go and educate these people, and I don't know what to do. I mean, from that experience, what lessons have you learned from that, and how do you implement them into your life on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. Well, I mean, this has become my life anyway. So
yeah,
I don't know. What I know for a fact is, first of all, let me just point out that my mother wants me to be a preacher.
Well, you are.
She will tell you that you need to be in a church preaching. I say, but I mean, come on,
Yeah.
But what I have realized is that I'm more open to experience more.
Okay.
I want to experience as much as I can. I want to learn as much as I can, and the only way I can learn more, and because I mean, before you teach, you first have to learn.
Yes.
So I'm more open to learning than teaching.
Okay.
So I find myself walking into these spaces and places that you never think exist, and now I find them easily because I know what to look out for.
Yes.
I know that, within that dirt and that chaos,
yes,
somewhere in there lies a beauty,
Wow.
So I've managed to look at, now I managed to look at the city differently, completely differently.
Yes.
Whereas back then I would have looked at a street with chaos and be like, oh, that's too dirty. Let's just walk the other way, But I want to see what's behind, what lies beneath all that mess, And that's when you start to talk to the real people and they tell you their real stories and their history and and their dreams and their future, so to speak. So yeah, I'm more open to learning and experiencing.
That's great. I was about to just say that what I'm hearing you say is that you always wanted to, you were curious about doing the walks, you were curious about telling the stories, but until you were faced with, okay, well, now's the moment, you wanted a chance, now you're either going to take it or not. You took it, and by taking that, you may not have been given the best tour in the world, okay, but you gave an experience, but you gave a good experience. But in that experience, you realized, one, gee, I love doing this. This is amazing. And two, it gave you the key to open your mind.
Of course.
And by opening your mind, you now see where other people see squalor and chaos. You see opportunity, and you see beauty.
Of course.
So
definitely.
I mean, what an amazing gift to give yourself. That's absolutely fantastic. And by living in the city,
there's nothing better.
Yeah. And by living in the city,
there's nothing better. I mean, my day is. Sorry, my day is really well made and beautiful when I take somebody on a walking tour, and then you can imagine 3 months later, I get a call, and that very person who was so terrified of Joburg calls me, especially if it's the locals. And they call me and they say, remember that shop that you took us to? And I say, yes. And they say, I went back by myself and I bought this, this, and that for my husband or my wife.
Yes.
And it was interesting. It was, where I'm looking for, that kind of rush,
Yeah, it was exciting.
It was exciting. And they did it by themselves. To me, that is like, that's the best gift you can give to someone.
Yeah, you give them, you took away their fear. That's the gift, their fear of the inner city.
Yes.
And that's, so, I mean, Charlie, if, with the current circumstances that we find ourselves in, the one thing I've also admired about you and Gerald is how you've adapted to the lockdown that we're in at the moment. So I asked this question to Gerald in a slightly different way, but I mean, the future of the Joburg inner city and your role in it, where do you see yourself going in the future with the inner city tours, and how you can use this lockdown as an opportunity rather than, an all fall down that's coming, the world's coming to an end scenario?
Well, Gerald will tell you that, when the dust settles, Joburg will be, the inner city basically will be the savior for all of this chaos anyway, because people will be forced to look at the inner city differently.
Yes.
They'll be forced because most people are already starting to cut down, you have this huge suburban home and now you realize, shit, I can't afford it. I need, to do something, and some people are going to start thinking, you know what, this is not how I want to live my life. I don't want to live my life in a huge, behind the huge walls, hiding. I want to now see more. Life is too short. And if you want to see more, where do you want to go? It's going to be Joburg.
Yes.
It's going to be the inner city, because now you just realize your life can be taken away as quickly as you can.
Yes.
So you might as well experience it while you still have it.
Yes.
So definitely there's going to be a lot more of our people coming to Joburg, and there's going to be a lot more people wanting to experience more of the city. And I think what we do as Joburg Places, we are going to be in the forefront of showing our own people their own city all over again.
Yes.
And so I think there's a gap for us there when the dust settles,
Yes.
And also, I just want to mention that, we have just realized, Gerald and I, that we are definitely survivors, because out of all of this, we have been running around the streets. Just right now, before I started this interview, we were out delivering carpets,
Yes.
Parktown and so forth. And that is our life now during the lockdown. We just have to keep on going. And what we selling to people, it's not just to make money.
Yes.
We are making enough money to survive, yes, but at the same time we are giving people a piece of history.
Yes.
There is sort of something that you take with what you get from us. It's a story in itself.
Yes.
Like it's the hidden treasures of the city.
Yes. Yeah, because that's what
everything that we sell has to come from the city.
And so because that's what you're doing now. Gerald mentioned it as well. It's sort of hidden treasures, and it goes back to your curiosity now, and you're not afraid to go and explore. All of a sudden, things there's treasure troves that you didn't even know existed because
they start popping up somewhere, and you're like, wow, this is beautiful, and this is what people would love.
Yes.
But they never will come to town and get it because they're so terrified of town.
Yes.
But after all of this, they're going to be like, okay, we want to see where you get this stuff.
Yeah. And there's also nothing to be afraid of. And there's I think that where you're talking about the opportunities in the inner city is that disposable income is definitely, at least for the short to medium term, is going to be very difficult. So going on a tour, going on holiday in your own country, I think is definitely going to increase after this. And going from the northern suburbs and driving to the inner city is like going overseas. And I genuinely mean that, because when you go to the inner city and you haven't been there for years and it changes your perception, it's like going to Argentina. It's like completely changes your world. So I agree with you, and it's something that you guys should be very proud of, to be into that in that particular position.
Believe me, we are. We definitely are.
So definitely are. I'm going to just change a little bit of tack now, and I want to sort of dig deeper into Charlie Moyo's heart. I want to understand you a bit better. And I mean, as you said, you've had a very interesting life. As I say, an extraordinary one. We all have extraordinary life. So I just want to know from your side, I mean, we've all gone through experiences and had lessons and learnings, etc. And I'd like to know what baggage that you've picked up over your life. What baggage are you going to throw away and leave behind? And what baggage are you going to take with you moving forward? And why?
Sure. Wow, that is a tough one.
Good.
Well, I mean, as much as I, give people experiences and take them on walking tours and tell them stories, about the inner city and so forth. I've realized that, I sort of like try and hold my own story dear, and I don't want people to know me and who exactly is Charlie. And I think I'm learning now, because of this, to actually start to open up a bit and, expose my story and, share my own, and be proud of where I come from and who I am,
Yes.
Whereas, I mean, before then, I would have been afraid to even tell people, ashamed to even tell people where I'm from, and I shouldn't be, as much as, a country like Zim is a chaos, still a beautiful country. There's a lot of beautiful people there, and here as well, doing amazing things. And I think for now, what I would like to do is just to share my story as well, and be open and outgoing and be more tolerant.
Yes, tolerant of yourself, tolerant of yourself and of others.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that is. I think what I'm hearing you say is there's because I'm just really grateful that you're willing to talk to me and share your story, because it's an amazing story. And the lesson is that we should not be ashamed of our stories. Our stories
shouldn't.
Our stories are our stories. It's where we come from, but it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be who we are. We have the opportunity to recreate ourselves.
Definitely.
And those lessons that we pick up can make us stronger.
Yeah, I've out of doing what I do, I've learned to, stop judging people for where they come from, because of where they come from and who they are, because they have most interesting stories, because I met people from everywhere in the world, and when you start to chat to them and they tell you their own stories, like, wow, I didn't think a story like that can come from a person like this. And,
yes.
It goes to show that you really should be more tolerant and, stop judging.
Yes, and open. Yeah, definitely. I think that is, sadly, we're reaching the end of our conversation. But I think what I will take from this experience is the real value, importance of being, of openness, having an open mind, having an open heart, being open to new experiences, to be open to change. I mean, and you've had lots of change. And I think my last thing I'd like to ask you is, in this time of change, and what prompted me to start having these conversations was, we are all beginning again in some way or another as a result of the lockdown. We all have to begin again. Some people, businesses, other people, families.
Yeah.
There's a new beginning. So in this time of new beginnings, what would you like to just share with those people that are listening that they can take with them, that can help them through this time of transition?
Well, I mean, all I want to say is through this time of transition, I would just want to say, you know what, we've all had to experience life changes before, and we've all adapted. And this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And people just have to, you know, you just have to stay strong and, you know, stay in the race and stay in the course. And once everything settles, you know, we will come out a better society.
Yeah, it's that togetherness.
You know, yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
You know, togetherness will build our nation. You know, we really shouldn't listen to our politicians, especially at a time of crisis, trying to divide us because of our color and our religion and so forth. You know, we need to be more accepting of one another in this time. This is exactly the time where we need each other instead of going against each other.
Yeah.
So if we are going to build this nation again, as a society, it doesn't matter where you come from. We really need to do it together than apart.
Well, Charlie, amen to that, and a really powerful message. And it's been such a privilege for me to get to know you better, and I can't wait to spend more time with you. I don't know when or how, but I just know that it's important to me. And so, in conclusion, thank you so much for your time and your honesty and your
thank you, Andrew,
and your openness. Okay, cheers. Have a fantastic day. The views and opinions expressed by this podcast are those of the authors and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of 3 Seconds Ahead. Any content provided by our authors are of their opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything. While authors strive for accuracy, we can and will be wrong at times, as any honest person will have to admit.